Good morning, campers. This is Crusader Rabbit, KBNY 5962, starting our broadcasting day. And today, for your viewer enjoyment, by request, we're going to be bringing you the Canon A-1 camera. Long-time sword art online fatal bullet friend of mine said, hey, let's give me a video with you showing off your Canon camera. So here you go for that video. So let's go along with some of the basic functionality of the camera. Right at first, the camera operates in 4 modes. There's a shutter priority mode where you can select the shutter speed that you want. It goes from 30 seconds all the way down to 1/1000th of a second. So you can select any of those shutter speeds, and if your lens is set to the little A mark right there, and there's a little button there to lock and then lock it off of A, and then just turn the aperture ring here in order to set the aperture or put it in automatic mode. So with the first 3 modes that we're going to talk about, all have to be with the lens in automatic mode, automatic aperture. So in shutter priority mode, you set the shutter, it sets the aperture. So it looks like my lens just fell off. So hopefully this still works. I mean, my lens cap fell off. If I take, there's also a lock over here that turns the camera off. So with the lock in this position, there's like a little L underneath there. It's kind of an orange L on a black body. Doesn't really. And then over there in the A mode. Oh, you can kind of see the L there now. Right. Okay. So lock, camera's off. And even if the shutter is cocked, the camera doesn't fire. With the lock off, then the camera fires and the electronics work. So there's a there's a battery check over here. On this button right here, that if you press it, little LED comes on, letting you know that the batteries are okay. So back to shutter priority mode. So you set the shutter, and it's going to set the proper aperture. So we're going to set the shutter for 1/25th of a second, and then if we look inside of the finder, there's like this really cool 1970s red LED readout that tells you, okay, we're at 1/125th of a second, and I'm going to take the lens and open it up to 1.8, but the 1.8 is blinking because there's not enough light. So if I was to dial in a slower shutter speed, maybe that would work. Like if I go down to maybe 2 seconds, and then if I'm depressing the shutter halfway, and it's 2 seconds, and I'm at an f11. So it's taking the lens and it's setting it to f11. So if I wanted to not have it exposed for so long, maybe if I go 1/4 of a second. And then you can see it's 1/4 of a second, and it's going to be, or F4 at 3.5 seconds. So let's. So it's 1/15th of a second at like a F2 is what it's selecting. Okay, so that's shutter priority mode. See, I can take this and turn it, and this display is going to change to display the apertures for aperture priority mode, which they have as AV TV, shutter priority, AV aperture priority. So we switch to aperture priority, and the shutter speeds, or I mean the aperture openings come into view. So, and again, the lens is still set on A. So you set it for whatever you want, like f16, and then you it'll say, okay, we have to go for 4 seconds in order to be at f16. It's like, okay, well maybe I don't want to hold it still for 4 seconds. Let's go to something a little more open. Let's try f at 2.8, and we look inside for our 2.8. And it's going to be 1/6 of a second. So if I open it up a little more, if I go to 1.4, white lens is now wide. Oh, I think I'm only 1.8. I think even if I open it up to 1.4, I think it only gives me 1.8. So 1.8 at a 15th of a second. So let's try putting it on 1.4, and I think it'll still say 1.8. I just love a little LED display. So 1.8 at 15th of a second. Yeah, it's the exact same reading. Okay, so that's aperture. So we've covered aperture priority, and we've covered shutter priority. That's 2 modes to go. So if we switch back here to the shutter priority, and if we go, you probably saw this earlier, when I put this up to 1,000th of a second, there's like another like red P, which is you go ahead and select for me both the aperture and the shutter. It's a full program mode. Camera's in like point and shoot mode. So if we look inside the lens again, look inside the viewfinder, it's saying, okay, a 15th of a second at f2.0. So it's opening up the lens to f2.0, which is doing something in between there, and it's doing 1/15 of a second. So finally, one more mode to go. Yeah, are you exhausted? Yeah, so am I. Okay. So one more mode to go, and that's full manual mode. So to go into manual mode, what we do is we push, there's like a little button right here. You push down on that button, and then you can like turn the aperture ring to whatever aperture you want. Let's say we go to an aperture of like 2.8 maybe. And then if we go to a shutter speed of, gosh, I don't know. What do you want to do? Like a 15th of a second? That's going to be close. And then if we look inside the lens, we can see if that's going to be a... So it's a 2.0, little m there lets us know we're in manual mode in a 15th of a second. And that's what we're going to be shooting at. Yeah, you betcha. So those are the 4 modes for putting the camera into, for taking a picture. You have the manual mode, you have the full program mode, which we did right before this. You have the aperture priority and shutter priority. Camera has all 4 modes. Go full manual, go full point and shoot, and variations in between. Yeah, okay. So other things, other controls, the ASA for the film speed, you would set right here. I usually use like 400 or 100 film. This is set for 400 film. And let's see, to open up, you kind of pretty standard. You just kind of like flip the little thing here, and you put this up and pull on it, and the back pops open. And there's the inside of the camera. Camera back. And then if you were to put film in and close it. So let's take a listen and see what this camera sounds like. This This Canon has a bit of a Canon, what they call a Canon cough, Canon sneeze, Canon cough. So it sounds kind of funny when you're opening and closing the shutter. But let's go ahead and take a listen. You can hear it kind of squeak there. That's your Canon cough. Although I've run film through this camera, it's fully operational. Okay, that was 1,000th of a second. This is 1/500th of a second. And half of that would be 1/250th of a second. And half of that would be 1/125th. And half of that would be a 60th of a second. And half of that would be 30th of a second. And half of that is a 15th of a second. Hear it getting longer and longer. An 1/8 of a second. 1/4 of a second. Half a second. It's starting to get kind of slow, right? And 1 second. I don't know how accurate these really slow speeds are. Is that a second? Is that a little longer? Here's like 2 seconds. And do we dare try 30 seconds? No, that'd be a bit, that's half the video. And then there's also a bulb mode where it's, you press down, it opens up, and when you let up, it closes again. So remember, like, the whole noise spectrum isn't necessarily the open period of the shutter. Like this is half a second, but it has to move the camera aperture possibly to the aperture that it needs to be at. Here it needs to close it down a little bit. It's got to take the mirror, it's got to like flip it up, and then it's got to open the shutter, close the shutter, and then it has to take the mirror, flip it down, and then take the aperture and then open the lens all the way back up again so that you can see through the viewfinder without it being like really dark. So, I mean, and that's everything that's going on when you're taking a picture. But that is the Canon A-1. This is the lens that came with it. It's a fully functional lens. It operates perfect. There's like some pieces missing in the like the rim of the lens. Can't really put a filter on it, and you can see like some part of the faceplate there on the lens is missing. So this camera is like well traveled, but it does the job. You can put a film or a roll of film through it, and you get images on the film, and the light meter seems to be accurate. Now the battery goes in this battery door back here, and you have to take the sport grip off. It's like a little sport grip in order to keep the battery door on. My battery door is a little broken, so I don't. I actually bought this. Didn't come with a sport grip, but I bought one just to protect the battery door because I didn't want it falling off. And it just takes kind of like a regular 4LR44 dog collar kind of battery. And that's I think that's going to be it. What else is there to show? There's like you can put like a motor winder on this. It actually came with one, but it's adds a little extra weight. If I'm just going out for like a quick shoot, I usually leave the motor winder at home unless I have a reason for it. It's a lot heavier with the winder. And let's see what else is down here. Tripod, the film release lever for when you want to rewind, and of course your rewind lever over here. Little marking there is the film plane. When you have film loaded in, that's where the film actually is sitting vertically into the camera. And sometimes you're using that for like extreme close-ups when you want like I want to be like an exact 3 feet away. You can measure from your subject right to this, and if the lens is accurate, you should have like that focus dialed in. And let's see, what else is going on here? We have like, yeah, so there's like a lock over here, so you can lock this up here so that you don't accidentally move it when you're out and about. And you have your hot shoe, and you know, a couple other little bells and whistles. That's the release for the lens right there, and that's pretty much it. That's my Canon A-1, purchased for under $100, and I really like it. It's a very, very nice camera, very comfortable to shoot with. Well, I think that's going to be it. My throat's starting to get a little dry. I think I'll go get something to drink, and hope you have a nice weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. This is Crusader Rabbit KBNY5962, ending our broadcasting day. Good night, campers.